Am I the a-hole for not attending my mum's funeral? Am I the a-hole for refusing to attend my mother's funeral because my children are being excluded? So recently, my mother passed away. The day she passed away, I received a call informing me that my children would not be invited to the funeral or the wake. I didn't question it, thinking that maybe it was going to be adults only. Last night, I noticed a lot of people commenting how they would be there along with their children. It got me wondering if there was a possibility that it was only my children who were being excluded from saying goodbye to their grandmother. So I called the family member and asked them directly if it was all children or just mine. I was informed that it was only my children being asked to stay away, and that apparently this was requested by my late mother, obviously before she passed, and her husband. I have no way of knowing if it was actually requested by my mother. I became very upset and told them not to worry, that if they don't want my children there, then they won't be, and I won't either. I should also explain that my children are autistic and range from teenagers to primary school age. 2 of my youngest children were very close with their grandmother and regularly chatted on FaceTime. She lived very far from us. The reason they apparently don't want my children there is they think that my children will misbehave and I won't be able to control them. Mostly, my children are very well behaved, and the few times my family have actually bothered to see them, they are on their best behavior. I've even taken them to restaurants with little to no issue. I was also informed that even if I do come myself, I would not be allowed a support worker with me. I'm also autistic. Now, I hadn't even decided if I would bring the younger children at that point, but I'm upset that my children are being singled out. Some people are telling me I'm overreacting, while others are saying that if it was their children, they wouldn't go either. Before anyone jumps down my throat, yes, I know this day is about my mother, but shouldn't my children have as much right to say goodbye as anyone else? So, am I the a-hole if I refuse to attend while my children are being excluded?
Am I the a-hole for confronting my boyfriend after finding out he was messaging another girl? So here's the situation. I, 24 female, found out my boyfriend, 26 male, added this random girl on Discord and was messaging her. For some context, he streams video games on TikTok for fun, and earlier in the day, I saw some girls sending him messages in the chat history. They'd clearly been talking a bit. She asked for his Discord, apologized for being forward, and asked if he had a girlfriend. He said yes, but she persisted, and he gave her his Discord for his stream community. She says she'll message him on there. I wasn't thrilled, but tried to brush it off. I don't usually hang around in his streams, just pop in for a few minutes to say hi. Later, he was streaming again. I saw her say something like, "Have you thought about my message?" And I felt a little uneasy. He giggled and said something like, "Well, we'll have to see about that, haha," and it just felt off. So I typed in the chat, asking what message she was talking about. She replied, saying, boyfriend's name, said he might want to hang out with me sometime. I was like, seriously? He noticed me in the stream and goes, "Oh, well, I don't know about that. I have a girlfriend," which was not how he initially responded. So I messaged her on TikTok to ask what had been going on. She actually gave me her number, we apparently live near each other, and sent me the screenshots. The messages start off with her saying they should play Fortnite sometime. He said he'd been playing Fortnite recently. Then she says she thinks he's really attractive, and he says, "Lol, thank you, you're too kind." They keep messaging, find out they live near each other, and she asks if he wants to hang out. She suggests they chill one night, and he responds with, "Lol, maybe, I don't really know you though." She then suggests something more flirtatious about getting to know her, but he didn't respond to that, although I'm not sure if it's because I saw what was going on in the stream. The whole vibe of her messages is very forward and flirty. He also added her back as a friend on Discord. He knew I was upset, and he texted me, "Lol, I said IDK about that, I have a girlfriend, just chill." But the thing is, he never mentioned me at all in his messages to her. When I pointed that out, he said he didn't want to be rude and that he wasn't actually planning to hang out with her. But honestly, I feel like this crosses a line, and it's really disrespectful. The issue is, he's making me feel like I'm overreacting and causing problems over nothing. Am I the a-hole for traveling to Japan? Hello, I 18F have always dreamed of traveling. The idea of seeing new places is quite literally what I live for. I have begged my parents since I was 10 to let me study abroad when I was older, and even when I was accepted into a program, I turned it down because I could sense they were uncomfortable with the idea. I have denied a boarding school opportunity as well as 3 different class trips to other countries because my parents could not afford it and it wasn't their responsibility to pay for it. However, 2 years ago, I got a job because I wanted to have my own means to pay for college and a new instrument. My major is music education and performance. It only recently occurred to me that I have actually made quite a bit of money and I have the means to take a trip my senior year. I began to discuss doing a trip with some coworkers to Japan for about $4,000, but I am not very close to them. So recently I asked my mother if she would be interested in traveling with me instead before I go to college. As for both of us, it would be $6,500 and we could split the cost. We would have spent that money, $250 on a vacation anyways. My father has expressed how he is not willing to travel to Asia, so this is not something I included him in. Now that we are coming closer to actually booking the trip, my family is telling me this is an extremely childish thing to do and a waste of me and my mother's money. I understand that I have big expenses coming up, but I have worked double the amount of time my siblings did before graduating, and this is probably the only time in the next 4 years I will have the money to do this. My father is upset that it is the same year as my brother's wedding, even though this is my graduation year as well, and he is complaining about what he will do this summer then. He also firmly believes I am clueless about travel, All I do, I make itineraries to travel to different countries, and that will cost much more than I have budgeted. I have planned every last penny and even added 500 extra for emergencies. Basically, I am going to Japan with or without my family, but I am scared that this is placing too much stress on my parents' siblings. Am I the a-hole for not willing to talk to my dad? For context, my dad, 41 male, and I, 19 female, have also had a rocky relationship after my parents' breakup when I was 6. Before they broke up and when I was still young and naive, I loved and adored my dad, always wanting to be around him and have him play games or dolls with me. After the breakup, however, he completely changed. The night my mom and dad broke up, I had witnessed my dad putting his hands on my mom because she was kicking him out. I didn't see him for a couple months after the incident, but randomly just started seeing him again on the weekends. He was not the dad I remembered him to be. Something about him was off, but little 7-year-old me didn't know what it was. I had hit puberty pretty young, and this is a major part of this story. I was around 8 or 9 when I first ever started my menstrual cycle, and when my dad was made aware of this, he became incredibly weird about it. He would often make really weird or straight inappropriate comments about my development. My grandma and my now stepmom were also doing the same things to me. After him and my stepmom got together and moved in with each other was when it just gets worse. They would question me anytime I went to the bathroom for any reason, thinking I was doing things to myself in there, which is weird since I was only 9, constantly putting me down for anything I did. I did bad on a test, I wore something revealing, showed interest in hobbies. They would belittle me any chance they got. I would tell my mom about these things, but she didn't want to fight for full custody of me since my dad is a little insane. That was my every weekend up until I was 16. A couple months after turning 16, I just cut contact for a while and stopped seeing him because it was really affecting me how they treated me. Also forgot to mention this, my dad's whole family is insane. They will lie about anything to make you look like a bad person while they're the perfect person. My grandma would text my mom constantly saying how hurt. My dad was about me not wanting anything to do with him and how I must be a drug addict, constantly manipulating me and my mom into feeling bad for them and for me to want to talk to them again. Over the past 2 years now, since my 18th birthday, I say 2 years because I turned 20 in a few weeks, I've been trying to give my dad's family a second chance since we're all adults now. Nothing had changed at all. Still guilt-tripping, manipulating, and making inappropriate jokes/comments. I'm honestly just tired of it at this point and just want to distance myself from that family. I do love my dad because he is simply my dad, the man who helped create me, but I do not like him as a person at all. Am I the a-hole for not wanting to deal with this anymore? Also, sorry if this is kind of long. Am I the a-hole for not giving my dad $300 for bills? F22, in a tough situation. A while ago, I had my own apartment, but struggled to keep up with the bills while working full-time and going to school. It was difficult for me, and I eventually reached out to my dad, asking if he had a room available. We don't have a great relationship, but his offer seemed genuine when he said I could stay with him if I needed to. I obviously was not going to be paying bills because the whole reason I asked was that I could pay off my car and pay off my school first without putting myself in financial strain. I also want to say that I know I'm not special and that it is a very privileged thing to be able to have somewhere to stay free while going to school, and I very much acknowledge that, which is why when I thought I had the opportunity, I took it. The only condition I had was that I could bring my cat. I made it clear that I wouldn't move in without him. Once I moved in, my dad and I agreed that I'd cover my own cat's litter. I wouldn't ask him to pay for food, and I'd focus on paying off my school while working. I took care of all of my own things and never asked him for anything but a roof over my head. Things were fine for months. Then, right before the end of the year, my dad and his wife announced they were getting a divorce. Shortly after that, he told me I had 3 months to move out, which was okay with me. I just graduated, school was over, and I felt like I had enough time to save up and get my life together. But then, a week later, he told me my cat had to leave. This really confused me since the only reason I came back was because I could bring him. I explained this to my dad, but he insisted it was his house and I had to follow his rules or get out. So he was now demanding that I get rid of my cat, plus give him $300 for bills, which wasn't part of the original agreement, and still leave by April. It's been less than a month since he initially told me I had 3 months to go, so I'm still not ready to move into another apartment, and now I'm gonna have to give up my cat. He's been with me for 4 years, and I never thought I'd be in this situation. I don't know what I'll do. Maybe I'll have to go to a homeless shelter or figure something else out. I'm feeling lost, overwhelmed, and extremely stressed out. I'm not eating properly, and it's taking a huge toll on me. Now, things are getting worse. My dad has been putting up notes around the house saying I can't use the washer unless I give him $5, along with other small demands that feel like I'm being backed into a corner. If I'm being completely honest, I'm not too worried about myself as far as being homeless because I'm a strong girl and I've been through a lot, and I know that I will be able to handle myself. I am most scared for my cat because I am all he's ever known, and he's not an outside cat at all. And every day I worry that my dad's going to throw him out on the street when it's freezing cold outside.
Am I the a-hole for telling a friend that I don't care? I, 16 male, have been friends with this person, 18 male, for 2.5 years now. He is a very, very sensitive person, and I feel like I walk on eggshells to not upset him.
However, he talks constantly, and 90% of the time it is about him and what he is doing, what he wants, what happened to him this time, what his brother did the other day, etc. He also only ever talks about things he likes, and rarely about our mutual interests or my interests. After being friends with him for so long, I'm really tired of listening to him talking about himself. It's fine once in a while, and I'm literally always listening when he wants to vent, but I've grown sick of it. For context on this situation, I am a massive introvert and cannot handle a lot of social interaction in one day. This morning, I had a theater workshop for 2 hours, and just a bit ago, I was out at a friend's birthday dinner for an hour and a half. About an hour after I get home, he texts me, saying that his tics are bad, he has Tourette's, and he's freaking out and doesn't know what to do, and he asks if he can call me. I, despite being in pain after a long day and having no desire to talk to anyone right now, since my social battery is dead, still say yes, and he calls me. Eventually, at about a half hour into the call, he is of course talking about himself, and I'm really not in the mood, especially after a long, people-filled day. At about 50 or so minutes in, he asks me, "Want to know something I want?" At this point, I'm so done with him and with talking. I'm in pain, and I want to be left alone. Additionally, I am known to be a very blunt person. I prefer to tell people as it is, though I try to spare feelings when I can, and I don't hold back my opinions. In response to this, I said to him, "Not really." After this, he asks me if I am tired and says that if I want to get off the call, I can. I say yes and am happy for the escape. However, about 20 minutes ago, right after we ended the call, he texts me and says that it hurt his feelings when I said I didn't really want to hear about what he wanted and that it just didn't feel great on his end, and not a great way to say things to him. Honestly, I'm really done sparing my own feelings to appease him, and I've wanted to say something like that for a long time, but it happened to slip out today. Am I the a-hole? Plus help.
Am I the a-hole for asking my husband if I can take our kids on a family vacation without him? My mom owns timeshare down in Orlando, and this year she has invited myself and my 2 kids to go along with them for March break. The space is pretty tight in their rental, but if we really wanted to, we could squeeze, maybe a bit uncomfortably, to allow everyone to come along. But despite this, my mom has made it very clear that she does not want my husband to come along. My mom has been very unhappy with my husband for several years now, with the fact that he has cheated on me several times. A few years ago, she did invite him on our trip, but he complained a lot and ended up staying back at the hotel to sleep in and relax while I took our kids to Disney with the rest of my family. Due to this, and the fact that he has never spoken to her about his cheating or made any effort to try and connect with her, or apologize, or even visit her, as in come along when I visit, she is just less and less comfortable around him as the years go on. I do everything with the kids by myself, and when she comes to visit, she sees that he doesn't help around the house, and I'm doing everything on my own at home too. This severely agitates her, and she doesn't want her vacation to be ruined by her resentment toward my husband, especially knowing I'll likely be doing everything for our kids on the trip, and he will get to just enjoy himself. She has also pointed out that he recently took a trip with his best friend to Miami and left myself and the kids alone at home. I was fine with this for a number of reasons, but she points out that he gets to go on vacation, and I never get any time to myself. Despite all of this, I have forgiven him for the cheating, and we've been trying to work on our relationship. He thinks that if we're going on a family vacation, then the whole family should be invited, and that I should stand up for him against my mom, because what she is doing is wrong and unfair. He says that if we're working on our relationship, then I should not be excluding him and allowing him to be a part of our family events. I am having a hard time arguing against this, and I see his point. So does that make me the asshole for wanting to go without him? On one hand, I totally see my mom's side, and I can't argue against why she doesn't want him to come. But on the other hand, I feel bad for telling him he can't come and for still wanting to take my kids regardless. Am I the a-hole here? What should I do?